to the Life is an Escape Room podcast, where learning about yourself is an adventure. Here's your hosts, the Eanes escapeletes, Chris and Jeff.
Hello, fellow escapeletes. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeff. And today we'd like to welcome Stephanie Farlow.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's very good to have you on the podcast. Can you give us a little bit of background for our listeners and viewers?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So, again, my name is Stephanie Farlow. Just really quick, from a professional standpoint, I spent the majority of my career in public service with the FBI for almost 12 years. That's how I got to meet Chris. And of course, by extension, I got to meet you, Jeff. And of course, we've got a chance to do escape rooms together, which obviously we'll get into later on. It's been a joy, such a growth experience. I've been an analyst. Prior to the Bureau, I was a chronic and infectious disease epidemiologist, left the Bureau as a manager. In between that time, I was also a leadership instructor. So again, that's how Chris and I met, doing work, developing our leaders in the organization. I took a quick sabbatical. Maybe it wasn't so quick, like a 1.5-year sabbatical in between after my Bureau career, just to, we all need a chance to reset. And so kind of came back into doing professional development. I realized I finally might have figured out what I want to do when I grow up. And I put grow up in air quotes because I don't think I've completely grown up yet. And I think that's a good thing. But I've had the joy and privilege of working with Chris to develop professionals in a wide range of organizations. So that's a little bit about me.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. So let's do some further developing through some really, not that our trainings aren't fun, but I mean, escape rooms. Come on.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know Chris and Jeff, it's not just a hobby or a fun thing. It is a passion. Passion with a capital P.
Passion, yes. So it's funny, as you've done escape rooms, you've noted a lesson in there in regards to time. So yes. Can you tell us where we're going today?
So it was interesting because obviously with the work that we do, Chris, with organizations, and we talk to a lot of leaders, and one of the biggest themes that comes through tends to be, I don't have time. And generally it's, I don't have time to develop my people. Yeah. It's just easier if I just do the task myself. And it got me to thinking about, what about our times in the escape rooms? Like, how do we spend our time there? And when we begin in a room, whether it's just you and I in a room or we're there with Jeff, I was doing some self-reflection and thinking, I tend to just, we're given a set number of times, so we know how much time we have to complete, to actually get out of the escape room safely. And so in my mind, I think, an hour, that is so much time. And then when that mindset sets in, what I start doing is just looking around. I'm a detail person. I love, especially when an escape room has been well done. Really, the attention to detail is so immaculate that you just want to check everything, touch every cabinet, door or drawer, and just look through everything to the point where we start to forget, wait, there's a purpose here. There's a task we need to accomplish.
Sightseeing.
Yeah, it's like, we're not just here to sightsee. Not to say that, Chris, you haven't redirected me in the past. That tends to happen a lot. It's like that gentle, hey, I know, that looks great.
Over here.
And we've got a puzzle that we need to solve because there's another room we need to get to. This isn't just it. And so part of it was just kind of that self-reflective chuckle to myself. And then it really got me to think about, well, how do I apply this in my daily life on a regular basis? And I think to extrapolate that to life, sometimes we think, we have so much time on this planet. We can do whatever. And so because we have so much time, it doesn't matter if I spend a week just playing, games on my iPad or daydreaming, whatever that thing is I need to accomplish. When the deadline comes, I'll do what I need to do. And while that works for some people, I don't know that that's necessarily the best way to approach. I know sometimes I've gotten myself a little bit into a hole because, like any habit, once we start getting comfortable, not really thinking about time as the precious commodity is.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we perhaps hold ourselves back in accomplishing what we can accomplish if we were a little more mindful and a little more appreciative of time in general.
Yeah. Sometimes we need that little jolt to get us going.
A little jolt. Sometimes we need a big jolt.
Oh my gosh. I was recently speaking at a conference in California, and sorry, Jeff, I did a room alone. So I did a solo heist, because it was a heist. And I was relaxed, much like you. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like when I was going through with Stephanie. We're just kind of going through doing things. I'm like, I'm almost done here. I got this. It was about 10 minutes left. And then I triggered something, and a painting on the wall opened up into a whole nother room. And I had 9 minutes left. And I looked around, and there were about, I would say, 10 to 12 locks that I had to open. And so I had a little bit of a panic moment. And I think that was kind of like the little jolt. And then it was like a whole different perception of time occurred for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. And what's interesting is when I've done an escape room with you, and I think it was your brother as well, Jeff. Jeff, it's so funny. Jeff seems like he's just so chill, right? Doing these podcasts with everyone, with your guests. Oh, no. There's a whole different Jeff when we are in an escape room. There is a focus. Talk about somebody who does not waste time. That is Jeff, and I think that the two different perspectives and two different ways of approaching, it's a fun activity. Mm-hmm. And Jeff, you're just like, oh yeah, we got to find this, we got to solve this, do this, do that. And then Chris, you're just a good blend. You're just like, you're chill enough to enjoy the experience. And then you're like, it's like you have a timer in your brain, and you're like, okay,
time to pick it up.
we need to kind of move it. We need to move it going. And then there's me, just like, checking out the aesthetics. Yeah. Especially, like I said, especially when rooms are so well done. Mm-hmm. So Chris and I recently did one. Well, I guess it's not that recent, but we did one in King of Prussia, and their bank heist room. I was very impressed. Granted, my favorite one was our Pharaoh one that we did.
St.
The
Louis.
Egyptian one.
Yeah.
I would say that's still my favorite room for its amazing detail. But this bank heist one, I was like, I love the attention to detail and sense of making the office feel like it's a little battered. It's a bank manager's office, a little battered. And then to see it open into the second room, which I won't reveal what it is. And I was like, wow, like this is really cool. And again, right, that perception of time, I'm thinking, I think we look at the clock, and you look at and we might have asked the game master, how much time do we have left? Because where we were at that particular point, we couldn't see the clock. So Chris is really good about keeping that going. And here I am again going, oh, wow. So I think the lesson here is understanding how we naturally, maybe organically respond to different situations, to a new environment, how we operate, and then to understand and always keep in mind the purpose of why we're there. Purpose, and even if it's something as fun as an escape room, or even if it's going, I don't know, on a really fun vacation with a girlfriend, there's still, like, even on a fun, relaxing vacation, there's still something to be done that day that's somewhat productive.
Eating, drinking, spa, sure,
spa, maybe tennis. I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of drilling it down to our conversation. It's that perception of time, and what do we do? How does each distinct different perceptions kind of work together, especially when you're in an escape room with other people? And obviously we can analogize that to working with teams. So everyone has a different style. And part of it is how we perceive time. Some people feel like, oh, we have all the time in the world to work on this. If you're given 6 months for a project, we're like, oh yeah, we've got this. And for some people, 6 months is not enough time to accomplish whatever the task is.
Yeah.
And so how do we, and I think the great thing about escape rooms is that it is this microcosm, place to explore and to experiment and to learn about ourselves in that process to help us grow in unexpected ways.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking about it recently. Chris and I have found ourselves in escape rooms, and we have like 5 minutes left, 6 minutes left, and it's and you can go one of two ways. You can either say we're out of time, let's throw it in, or you can sort of buckle down and say, well, look, let's go the other direction. And it's amazing how much you can get done in a short amount of time once you have that motivation. But I found recently, even at work, the feeling of sort of anxiety you get when you have 5 minutes left in an escape room and you're sort of anxious, but you're trying to stay focused and you're trying to keep on mission, so to speak. You're trying to get the task going. I found myself lately experiencing the same feeling at work. And it's interesting because it's kind of the idea of, well, what do? Do you pitch it in and say, we aren't going to make this and we failed? Or do you say, no, just like an escape room, we have time to get this done. It's like, just relax and stay focused. You won't be able to do it the way you could do it at the beginning of the hour. You have to do it. Right. But it's interesting because I'll get some of the same feelings at work that I get in escape rooms. And it's kind of an interesting thing when you reflect on it. I thought when you brought up that we were going to talk about time, I was thinking about that this morning, and it's like, yeah, that it's really interesting how it translates. So,
yeah. Very much so. And I think you hit upon the first point I want to make in terms of kind of that mindfulness kind of on that pathway to appreciate perhaps time a little more is really that self-awareness.
Yes.
And we can't develop or continue to develop our self-awareness without that reflection piece. So thank you so much for bringing that up. And it's really critical. It's like the foundation to any growth that we want to undertake. It's like, oh, okay, I know I need to grow here. Because that's something I definitely need to work on. Because I feel like, oh yeah, I got all the time. And it's like, well, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too, we run into, most recently on a project that we worked on, it was quite evident, right? The leaders in the room were constantly saying, we don't have time.
Yes.
And I would smile and I would say, you have more time than you think.
Yes.
Like you had mentioned earlier. And what was running through my mind was that last 5 minutes of an escape room, it may seem like you only have 5 minutes, but you can accomplish a lot in there. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we've had these conversations and people kind of look at us a little strange sometimes. But I'm like, you can coach people. You can coach an employee in less than 5 minutes.
Yes.
And develop them in less than 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think tied to perceptions of time is also, and I don't want to get too off topic, but it's also the bigness that we make this task out to be. Right? We balloon it to this thing where we're like, look, no, it's not that.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's not that serious, but it's not as epic, right? There's the epic with a capital E and a capital PIC. And then there's important, and we can do micro learning. And I think that's where, especially with technology and everything, I think in our field, this is why I think micro learning has become such a big thing. Yeah. We are so distracted with so many different devices and messages that our attention span is so short. And so maybe the advantage of doing that is to make development. It's, as a leader, we kind of look at this maybe long-term plan and break it down into manageable chunks. So it does not seem like it's this big thing.
Yeah.
But we do a little here, a little there.
Yeah.
And the results are amazing.
Yeah. No, I think that is totally on topic. And you're actually, as you're saying that, I was imagining when I hit that final room and I'm looking around, like, oh my God, I have 12 locks to figure out codes for. by myself in the next 9 minutes. I just started chunking it and then, relating that to life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally on topic. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've noticed when we've been in rooms, not to interrupt you, Jeff, but especially with Chris, like we'll divide. Like you'll do something, or you'll be on one side of the room, and I'll be on one side. I've not done an escape room by myself. I actually enjoy doing rooms, at least with one other person, especially with somebody I know. It's not something I'd want to do solo, but that's just a personal thing.
A lot of lessons there.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine I'm sure that's like another podcast, how to enjoy doing an escape room solo version, right? So I'm trying to imagine in my mind, like, okay, what would I do if I was Chris in that situation? Yeah. How do you how do you determine which one's the most important log, to tackle first? So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of what we do in an escape room is by ourselves in a way anyway.
Oh, yeah, true.
So, depending on how you do it, how you team, but, if you're really being effective with the use of your time, everybody's sort of doing it on their own. It's just a matter of the amount of tasks you have to do. So, yeah, it's a
much
balance.
like team projects, right?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Collaborate, work on your own, etc.
Yes, right. And then you kind of bring it all together, and it's like you're reading my mind, because that was the second point of a lesson to learn in escape rooms is leveraging emotional intelligence to know your teammates, like understanding their strengths. So, and I love that you brought that up, Jeff. Like, we all have our own individual tasks, and within those individual tasks are what makes the team strong in order to accomplish the goal, whatever that goal is, whatever that task, ultimate big project is that we need to deliver.
Yeah.
And so I think organically, it feels like when we're in an escape room, someone always emerges as a leader. I think by default, it is Chris, just because she, no offense to you, Jeff, but I think it's because
it's her personality.
It's the personality. She's got that even keel. It's like you straddle the best of both of my attention to detail type of personality, which, Jeff, you have that too. But then you've got that incredible focus, and you're like, we're going to get this done. However, it's not at all costs, right? That's the balance.
Yeah.
Now, you just had me thinking about some stuff recently, because I've had a lot of people taking vacation now during this time of year. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing when you talk about use of time. There's use of time at work, and there's the use of time away from work to benefit yourself. So, if you're getting behind and your solution is cut into your personal time to get something done, you actually become less effective, and in the end, it won't be as good a use of your time. So it's kind of interesting when people are anxious, and it is a balance. Sometimes we have a lot of time and we say, yeah, let's work on that. But other times it's like, no, it's time to leave for the day. We'll pick this up. I mean, we always want to work quickly, but sometimes it won't get done today, and you'll have to go to tomorrow, or it won't get done until after your vacation's over. It's, you got to use your time wisely, and sometimes it's not working. So, but I was thinking about that too when we were talking about the team stuff.
I feel like the perception of time also works well with just an overarching perspective of the situation. Is kind of maybe how I would summarize that from your aha moment there, Jeff. Yeah. It's just to keep things in perspective. Sometimes I'll be a little cheeky and I'll say, like, look, folks, at the end of the day, no one's going to die if that particular, item does not end up on the shelf in your store.
In most cases. Okay.
True that. It depends on what the item is, I suppose. But in general, with the organizations we work with, what they do on a daily basis does not impact the like life or death situation of of fellow human beings. So we try to, in a gentle way, kind of keep people, keep that perspective in mind. It's like, if this report does not get completed by the end of today, and you have to do it first thing tomorrow, is someone going to die? They'd love to say yes. It's like, no, you're just going to get screamed at perhaps by maybe a poor manager above you. But that's not like a life or death situation. So I feel like having a perspective of the situation, understanding the nuances of the importance. And I think that's where also understanding, reading the room, right? This is where emotional intelligence is critical. Understanding your team members, how they work, how they operate, how they perceive time and how they perceive situations, but also just in overall generality, getting a sense of the environment around us. And I think that's the other critical piece to that.
It's funny, as you were talking, it kind of goes the other way too. So when there is death on the line, because all three of us have had careers or jobs or positions in the past that put us in critical incident type situations.
Yep.
It is, even when death is on the line, it's the perception of time, which we choose how we use it, right? So do we freak out and not be helpful for that person or those people in that, 5 critical moments? Or do we stay calm? And it almost seems like in escape rooms, time stretches out and we're able to really deal with the issue. So on the flip side, I think, right, we should be calm, and even if death is on the line.
And that's a great perspective to bring it out, because yes, I was a former many moons ago EMT, and we had to respond to calls and all that. And to your point, yes, people always appreciated when you weren't the one also acting like your hair was on fire, because that doesn't help.
Oh my
anybody.
God, what do we do? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the leg is like this. That should just not look like that. Oh my gosh, you can't do that.
Well, and sometimes that sense of urgency helps you become more efficient. I always thought it was funny. Well, when I was
calm
in the military,
urgency.
Yeah. Well, in the military, they're always like running through drills and stuff. And they'd say, like with the medical stuff, they'd be like, well, check the airway, check the, you're running through that. And I would always be like, walk up and say, how are you doing? Because if they respond,
they're breathing,
their airway's good, their heart's, so you get into these things where it's like, what can I do with the time I have to do it? And sometimes there's ways that you can come up with things that allow you to manage your time better.
Yeah.
But now I have a question for you, so if we had to get into and I'm interested in your opinion on this, if we had to get into which is more important, time management or use of time, which one of those phrases do you like better? Management, time management, or use of time?
There's such a nuance, right? It's such a very, very slim nuance, but because it impacts how we operate. I would say, the second one was what? Use of time?
Use of time. Time management or use of time?
From for a personal life, I would definitely say use of time, and maybe even at work, professionally, I would say use of time, because for me, when I hear time management, there's this
negative
feeling. I don't know, something about that. It's like it's such a work term, and it almost like brings out a little bit of anxiety, like time management. No, it's like, how do we use our time?
Yeah.
I
think it helps with priority, right?
Yeah.
What's a better use of my time right now?
What's the best use of my time? Yes. Yeah. It's like, what is most important for me to accomplish today? And I think also, because to your point, like language is so important. And when we say, what do I want to accomplish? I think it also comes back to, it doesn't have to be this big thing. For some people, it is just literally getting out of bed, because for whatever reason, it's whatever's going on, that is a struggle. And if they can get out of bed, that's a win for that day. They have really accomplished something that day. And so I think I like the phrase use of time, because I feel like it's more inclusive of all aspects of our lives. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, cool.
Now, did you have another thing you wanted to share about time and perception?
Yes, and I think to round out our 3 things, because as you know, I always like to offer things in 3s. So the third piece would be really about focusing on what we can control. Focus on our controllables through, now we can use our professional development skills here. The sin analysis, right? What can we control? If we can't control it, what can we influence? And what are those things that we cannot control? And I know for me in the past, both professionally and personally, I've gotten so caught up on the things I can't control. Like I would think so macro level. I'm like, oh my goodness, for example, global warming. My God, we're all going to fry. And I'm just thinking, how do I impact that? I was like, okay, no, little singular me. And if someone ascribes to Buddhist philosophy, there really is no me, but that's a whole different conversation. As a singular entity, no. But then from a controllable aspect, like what can I do to contribute? I could do a better job recycling. When it's time for me to purchase a new vehicle, maybe when I do my research, I'll decide to, get an electric vehicle, those types of things. So it's those little behaviors that from a collective perspective, we can make, as a species, we can make a change. So I think ultimately it's really about what is within my sphere of control that I can do. So I feel like I'm doing my part in whatever the thing is. And I think, especially when it comes to time, the things that we can control, that we have done a little analysis and we know we can control, that's really the best use of our time.
Yeah.
Great insight. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And I could see totally how that relates to pretty much every escape room experience that we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because absolutely, there were some puzzles that we've had, and I'd look at you, Chris, and Jeff, and I'm like, I'm not touching that. that is not. This brain does not work that way. But I will do this because I think this I can solve.
Yeah.
To work on that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, I know. Oh my goodness, time is going by so fast. So before we get to your final piece of advice, can you share a little bit more about maybe how folks can learn more about you, what you do, all that good stuff?
Absolutely. So obviously you can visit eanestraining.com because I definitely I'm honored to continue partnering with Chris on delivering workshops and other leadership and professional development opportunities for our clients, as well as I am a certified leadership coach. So if you're interested in working with me for your own personal development, you can find me on Linktree. My handle is Steph Farlow, and see if we get along and then kind of move on from there.
Nice.
Great. Okay, so what's your final piece of advice?
I feel like this is so pertinent to everything that we've talked about in terms of escape rooms and just life in general. And it's always to honor our inner child.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun. Life is difficult, yes. And it's an opportunity for us to always stay curious, to see kind of maybe the life lessons and any interactions we have with other people in whatever experiences, whether they be escape rooms or I don't know, being on a roller coaster. I personally don't do roller coasters, but for those of you who do enjoy that, that's all, bonus points for you. And explore, right? But again, that's tied into being curious about the world. So always honor our inner child because that just makes life a more enjoyable experience.
Oh, I love it.
Great advice.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for playing with us today.
Ooh, thank you for the invite. It's been just a blast, Chris and Jeff, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Want to learn more about the Eanes Escapeletes, buy the book, or read the blog? Visit lifeisanescaperoom.com.